I want to read something. I saw a woman post this on the Ben Shapiro Facebook wall. She said, quote, "I want to thank you for bringing to light the changes in the sexual education programs in our public school system across America. My sixth grader was about to be educated about gender identity, sexual orientation, anal and oral sex, and masturbation. Because of one of your shared articles, I asked the right questions at just the right time. Sadly, only mine and another's child opt out of the program. Parents aren't being made aware of what's really going on in the classroom, or maybe they just don't care enough to fight it. Thank you for what you share and the investigations you do." And I'm like, wow, gosh. They are really corrupting the kids in secular schools. The education system has never been this Antichrist. I mean, honestly, it's never been this bad. Democrats are the Democratic Party. They are such totalitarian communists. It is not funny. Wanting to sue people for not calling someone by their preferred gender pronoun. It's amazing. They do things like that, and they're the party that protects laws for abortion, and they call the Republican side the fascists. Well, actually, it's the Democrats, it's the liberals who are the Nazi fascists. I want to show you this. I'll show you about two of these videos. They're not too long, from the Freedom Project Facebook wall.
Pineview School in Sarasota, Parenthood sex education video on consent was shown during an English class.
I'm sorry, I should have said Planned Parenthood sex ed video pushed in class without consent. That's what what it says on the video.
English literature at Pineview School in Sarasota, Florida, were shown How Do You Know If Someone Wants to Have Sex With You? As part of a presentation by a counselor from Safe Place and Rape Crisis Center. Now, this is an organization that partners with the school district for sex education. And the video asks what consent means, and it shows multiple same-sex couples kissing. It talks about being drunk and or high, and about getting some super sweet action. And so this video was shown. Parents weren't given an option of opting their students out of seeing this video because they didn't even know it was being shown. The administrators didn't know it was being shown, and now we have outrage.
Asking for consent doesn't have to be awkward. Asking for consent can actually be kind of sexy.
Want to show me your bedroom?
Show me where you want me to touch you.
Do you want to help me take these clothes off?
What this is marketing sex to your kids. This is not about consent. It's about making sure English students in, what grade is this?
This is senior literature.
Senior literature. That English students get to see men kissing each other. This is a way of normalizing the sexual attitudes, mores, and worldview that the government schools want you to have, and that these outside agencies want to bring into the school. And no one's being asked about this. They have completely preempted the parents on this. And you say parents are rightly upset. I'm at the point now where you just have to assume as a mom or a dad this stuff is happening. And notice the insidiousness of this. It's not in health class. It's not in a biology class. They're slipping this into parts of lectures, math courses, English courses, as a way of pushing an agenda that the schools are 100% complicit with.
Yeah, and the district spokeswoman, Tracy Beaker, she went to the local news outlets and said that they learned about the video from the teachers and a parent. And she did acknowledge that the video is inappropriate appropriate based on curriculum guidelines, and stressed it was not approved or sanctioned by the school district. So the school district is automatically trying to turn it back on this other organization that they've been using for more than 15 years. And this organization, clearly, it's a Planned Parenthood video, and they have more videos out there. So who knows how many different videos actually have been shown over the years.
Yeah, and this has happened way too often all across the country and almost basically virtually all 50 states to be able to argue that this is just rogue teachers. What do you think? Why do you think so many rogue teachers feel that they can bring this level of irrelevant, out of context sexuality into the kids' classrooms? Classrooms like English that have nothing to do with this. Why are so many teachers doing this if they don't get trained how to do it? If they haven't been sold by the district, by the universities that accredit them, that they haven't been sold that a big part of what they're supposed to do is normalize alternative sexualities now. And so the schools now have this default, right? Everything about our school sort of lends itself to this kind of radical partnership through data mining, this kind of co-opting typical classroom learning for social values learning, psychosocial learning. And then when teachers do it, wink, wink, and somebody gets upset, we have a one fault to step back, right? Well, it was them, not us. They should have told us, and grudgingly will admit that this was probably inappropriate until we do it again next time. And again, what's completely already taken as status quo is that we're not really required to contact parents or consult with parents or seek parental permission. It's easier to apologize to parents after we do something that we get caught doing rather than make them actual partners, because when you partner with the parents, you would never get this Planned Parenthood related garbage in the schools, which is why you don't partner with parents anymore. You partner with radical sexual entities who are going to sexualize kids' English classes.
Okay, also from the Freedom Project Facebook wall. Check this out. It says, school destroying teacher who refused to watch girl shower. Now, you got to hear this.
Florida, Land O'Lakes, Florida. They actually had a middle school girl who decided she was a boy. She was immediately allowed into the boys' shower room without notifying the boys. This girl comes in, starts taking her clothes off. The boys march out of the shower room to complain to the male gym teacher, who says there's nothing he can do. Not only is the male gym teacher not able to prevent this, he is ordered by the middle school to enter the shower and watch the girl, the naked girl who thinks she's a boy, shower so that the boys don't harass her. This adult male rightly refused to go into the locker room and watch that little girl shower because, as he said, I could get sued for watching a little girl shower. Yet the high school, the middle school, rather than recognize what they were forcing this employee to do, they punished him. And now we find out a couple of weeks later, Alex, in your newest article, that not only are they punishing him, but they're trying to destroy his career on the basis of the fact that he would not go watch this little girl shower. Talk to me about what's happened in the last few weeks.
This is one of those crazy stories that you almost just can't believe it's real. But, as we reported in late October, the details that you just provided, they are trying to force a male teacher to watch a, 12, 13-year-old girl shower naked. We used to arrest people for this kind of thing. Then they were going to punish him by sending him to another school. Now we find out, because Liberty Counsel, which is a Christian public interest law firm that has joined on this case to help the teacher here, we find out that the officials at this school, the attorneys for the school board, the director of employee relations, they were plotting not just to remove this guy from the school and send him to another as a disciplinary measure, but to fire him and to have his teaching credentials revoked so he could never work as a teacher in the state of Florida again. That's how petty they are. And in these emails, they say that'll send a good lesson to other teachers that we won't tolerate this kind of behavior. It's absolutely sick.
When you read these emails amongst these administrators, they're not the least bit concerned about the boys who were traumatized, about the girl who has got obviously gender dysphoria, not about the adult male teacher who was ordered to watch a little girl shower in the name of progressive values. They're only concerned about protecting what they believe to be their progressive credentials, their politically correct bona fides when it comes to defending transgender kids' rights to do whatever they want, regardless of consequence.
That's right, and it turns out that the Liberty Council now has figured out that this quack psychologist, so-called, at the school has developed their transgender policy, the gender support plan, and this psychologist is being incredibly shady. Doesn't want to share what books they're loaning out to the students behind parents' back. They've got these policies that basically show clear intent with malice to deprive parents, to trample on parental rights. They want to do these things without informing parents. The guidelines specifically say that nobody should talk to parents about what their children are doing at school. They're dressing as the opposite gender or whatever the case may be. And I hope parents across the country realize this isn't just isolated to Pasco County in Florida. This kind of battle, this kind of debate is happening in your school district too.
Like you said, the most horrifying aspect of this is at every stage of this, from the moment it happened up until today, their entire premise has been to withhold from parents everything that we can keep from parents about what we're doing with their kids. Let's keep them utterly in the dark. We are ordering you as employees not to talk to each other, not to talk to the students, and not to talk to the parents whose taxes pay your salaries. That's the part that really is incomprehensible to me.
If you want to know what kind of a culture we're in now, as soon as I switch the page, a drag queen story, Hours for Children, designed to groom the next generation. Yeah, we are in a, you read Romans 1:18-32 and Isaiah 5:20, and that's purely where we are right now. That is totally where we are. The way how liberal things are in this current climate, with everything going on, it's good to remember the following verses in Psalm 37, 12-13. It says, the wicked plot against the righteous and gnashes at him with his teeth. The Lord laughs at him, for he sees his day is coming. And Psalm chapter 2, verse 2 says, the kings of the earth take their stand, and the rulers take counsel together against the Lord and against his anointed. Verses 4-5 says, he who sits in the heavens laughs. The Lord scoffs at them. Then he will speak to them in his anger and terrify them in his fury. I love how Acts chapter 13, verse 33 tells us that Psalm 2 is about Jesus. Because Psalm chapter 2, 11-12, it says, serve the Lord with fear and rejoice with trembling. Kiss the Son, lest he be angry and you perish in the way, when his wrath is kindled but a little. Blessed are all those who put their trust in him. Kiss the Son, that's a phrase of worship. If you're not aware of what's going on in secular schools, how they're indoctrinating kids to be atheists, to believe in Darwinian natural selection, evolution, my goodness. Secular schools have become so antichrist to the core. And parents seriously need to make sure that their kids know the gospel, that Jesus, if he took the wrath of God on the cross for the sins of his people. He was killed and was resurrected. And if we believe on faith alone, confess with our mouth and believe in our hearts, we will be saved from the wrath of God, which is eternal hell. Jesus said it's a place of weeping and gnashing of teeth, where the worm never dies, where the fire is never quenched. Jesus said it's eternal punishment and outer darkness. The book of Revelation says says the smoke of their torment ascends forever and ever. If your kids are still going to secular school, I understand maybe there's both parents need to work and there's money and you have no choice. But if you do have a choice, I would recommend you get them out of secular school. And they need to be prepared to give a defense for what we believe. I don't understand some Christians are against apologetics. I just don't get that. If you love your spouse, and if someone speaks against your spouse, you're going to want to defend your spouse, right? Well, Christians say they love the Bible and they love God, and when people speak against God and His Word, you're against apologetics. It means to give a defense for the Christian faith, which is commanded in 1 Peter 3:15. It's insane to me. I don't understand the level of understanding of so many in the church. We need to be prepared. There is Dr. James White. If you go to sermonaudio.com and type in Phoenix Reformed Baptist Church, Dr. James White did a whole series on answering objections that liberals throw at the Bible, liberals and atheists. It's called the Holiness Code for Today. I think it was the West Wing program. They did this little thing where they try to shame this Christian girl, and they threw Bible verses at her and used common liberal arguments. And so this is actually a direct refutation to that, but a lot more. So again, that's on sermonaudio.com. If you go to Phoenix Reformed Baptist Church, also there's some really good books that I would highly recommend on how to do. I believe the most biblical way to do apologetics is presuppositionally. And there's a book called Ultimate Proof of Creation by Dr. Jason Lisle. I have it in my car right now. He also wrote a book called Keeping Faith in an Age of Reason, where someone posted a list on the internet of supposedly 420 contradictions in the Bible, and he said there are no contradictions. He went through the whole list and he answered all 420 in the book Keeping Faith in an Age of Reason. Bart Ehrman, who is the leading critic of the New Testament in the English language, who attacks the Bible and his books. There has been one of the books that has been written against his arguments, Misquoting Truth, is a really good book. I would highly recommend that. That will make you aware of some of Bart Ehrman's arguments. Haven't read it yet, but Answers in Genesis put out Replacing Darwin. They're a fantastic ministry. Go to their website, answersingenesis.org. They have a lot of free articles, a lot of great books. Another book I got from them was Evidence for the Bible. It's really nice, color pictures, talks about archaeology that confirms the historicity of the Bible. Some of my newer books that I got, I didn't know that The Case for Christ was updated and expanded 2 years ago, so I recently got that. That's a great book. And some of the popular arguments in colleges that professors try to discredit the New Testament is they try to say that Christianity borrowed from pagan mythology. There's a debate on YouTube, Dr. James White versus Dan Barker. I think it was called Was Jesus a Myth or something like that. He did a great job in exposing the false parallels that people try to draw. There's a book that's good on that called Case for the Real Jesus. I didn't read it yet, but one of my recent books, one of my newer books I got was The Gospel and the Greeks, Did the New Testament Borrow from Pagan Thought?, which is supposed to refute that. And the historical reliability of the New Testament, a monster book. I mean, this thing, I started reading some of it, and my goodness, this thing is huge. A couple of times recently, there had, because this deals with all kinds of answering objections from atheists who have attacked the New Testament and that sort of thing. One of them, one objection that was thrown at me a couple times recently on page, it's addressed on page 93. Just want to give you a quick little thing on that. Christ's return within one generation. And this is a popular one. People use this to try to say that Jesus was a false prophet. Good to know that the word generation can also mean the word race. Okay. But in Mark 13:30 and parallels, no doubt form the most famous text in which Jesus supposedly predicted his return within the lifetime of his disciples. If that is the meaning of the passage, then he was a false prophet. But what is the context for Jesus' solemn asseveration? Truly I tell you, this generation will certainly not pass away until all these things have happened. He is speaking to his disciples on the Mount of Olives, having predicted both the destruction of the temple, verse 2:14, and the coming of the Son of Man in the clouds with great power and glory, verse 26. Verse 30 comes at the end of a short parable, or extended metaphor. Now learn this lesson from the fig tree. As soon as its twigs get tender and its leaves come out, you know that summer is near. Even so, when you see these things happening, you know that he is near, right at the door. Verse 28-29. When Jesus continues to predict that all these things will happen in his generation, verse 30, he must be referring back to whatever these things referred to in his previous sentence, verse 29. But in verse 29, these things cannot include Christ's return, because when they occur, Christ's return will only be near. If they include his return, then Christ would be here, and the signs would be pointless because he would have already come back. So Jesus must be referring to everything he has described earlier in the chapter prior to his return, that is, everything leading up to and including the destruction of the temple, which occurred in AD 70. Exactly 40 years after his death, one generation by common biblical definitions. And then it goes on, and this is what I'm saying. This is good stuff to have, to teach yourself and to teach your kids, because the Bible is severely attacked in schools and by people who learn from their liberal teachers and professors. The Bible is under massive attack, and secular schools are trying to brainwash your kids to believe the Bible is not trustworthy, to believe liberal ideologies, to pretty much be Antichrist, to be friendly to the homosexual movement, which, of course, both Old and New Testaments, God declares that homosexuality is sin. And you need to be prepared. You need to prepare your kids, because the schools now are just absolutely Antichrist to the core, worse than ever. I've heard numerous sources that 65% of millennials want socialism. This is going to be the first secularized generation. It's a mess. So try to pay attention to what's going on with your kids in their schools. Because if you're a Christian parent, you're going to want to do that. And I highly suggest, if you can, to take them out. Because, I mean, the indoctrination is much more militant now. They want your children's minds. They want them to be atheists and to believe in liberal ideologies. And if that happens, they turn against God and they turn against you if you are Christian parents who care for your children. So just wanted to make people aware of that. And that's it for now.